Hi everyone, my name is Brenna and I will be demonstrating the assignment I will be giving to my students. My students are in a high school biology 30 course and we are approaching our second unit, which is the endocrine system. The endocrine unit is a super heavy information loaded unit, so I want to make sure with this assignment my students could have a solid base knowledge of the different endocrine structures and the hormones we'll be talking about throughout this unit. The media I decided to use to create this assignment was with a program called Scratch. So Scratch is it's like a programming language in an online community where people can program and share interactive media such as stories or games or animation with people all over the world. The way I'll be doing this with my students, though, is it will be private, so only myself can see it when it's shared and handed in to me, um, just for safety and privacy reasons. Not only is the goal to make sure my students have a good base knowledge on the different endocrine structures and hormones we'll be discussing throughout this unit, but I also wanted to encourage the use of higher order thinking skills. So, higher order thinking skills are skills that go beyond just the basic observation and fact memorization skills. They usually involve more involvement of cognitive processes. So, skills like problem solving, critical thinking, adaptability, and cooperation and collaboration. So, I'm just going to jump into the project now. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have a link available on the course webpage for students to click. Once they've clicked the link, it will take them to a page that looks like this. They're able to go inside the project, and this will lead them to a page that looks like this, which basically just provides the instructions on how to start the project. Um, you'll see I have all the different structures drawn by hand by myself, and labeled here. So we have the adrenal glands, the thyroid and parathyroid structure, the islets of Langerhans, and the hypothalamus and pituitary gland. So students will click the start button. So this will lead them to the page where they will then continue to place all the different structures in their correct positions in the human body. Once they have done that, this is now where they are free to design, modify, add whatever they would like to the project, as long as they reach the goal of making sure they describe the function of every endocrine structure, the hormones that are involved with each endocrine structure, and then the function of the hormones. So what I'll do next is I'll give a little demonstration of how students could start off their interactive human body diagram. So what we'll see here is I'll click the endocrine structure and I have a blank page set up that students can do literally whatever they want to as long as they meet the assignment goal. I'm just going to give a quick demonstration of what I did to start off my interactive human body diagram that I'll later be reflecting on using the rubric. So you'll see I use a cute little sprite as a narrator that's going to eventually narrate and describe all the different hormones and the function of the hypothalamus and pituitary complex. And you'll see how I use the coding blocks to make this happen. So this process involves a lot of critical thinking and trial and error to see what works, and what looks best to create a good flow. So here I'm going to show you my completed section of the assignment, describing the hypothalamus and the pituitary complex. So just for the sake of the time limit of this video and for the time that I had to spend on this project as well, I'm just going to show you what I have done for the one endocrine structure. Students do have a week to complete this assignment, and it should take an hour or less for every endocrine structure. So as you will notice, there are parts of this assignment that the viewer, the user, can sit back and observe. And there's also an interactive aspect of this diagram, which should help towards getting full points on the creativity and effort aspect of the rubric. Once this section has played through, I will go back and break it down section by section so I can reflect back onto the rubric and describe why I think this would be an example of an exemplary project, or one that exceeds standards. So the first section of the rubric I'm going to go over is the placement of the structures. So in my assignment, you will see that all of the structures are placed in the correct positions. So I have the hypothalamus and pituitary complex, which is up and located in the brain. The thyroid and parathyroid gland is located near the trachea. I have the adrenal glands that are located on top of the kidneys, and the islets of Langerhans that are located inside the pancreas, which is just in front of the kidneys in the center of the human body. So that would give me a 3 out of 3 right there. So this next part of the rubric is going to be grading on the description of the structures. Because this is the beginning of the unit, I'm not looking for anything that's too complex for the definitions of each structure. I'm just looking to see if the information is accurate and correct for every structure. So marks will mostly be lost if the information is incorrect or not accurate for most of the, or for all of the endocrine structures. In my assignment, you will see how I describe the major function of the hypothalamus, which is controlling the body's autonomic functions such as temperature, hunger, thirst, and sleep. In order to exceed the expectations required of this assignment, I added in 3 extra facts, such as it links the nervous system to the endocrine system through the pituitary gland. It is responsible for metabolic processes and other activities in the autonomic nervous system, and it secretes releasing hormones that stimulates or inhibits the secretion of hormones from the pituitary gland. By including these extra facts, I believe that this assignment deserves to get 100% in this section of the rubric. In this next section of the rubric, I will be grading to see if the student mentions the correct hormones under its designated endocrine structure. So, for example, for the hypothalamus, out of the list, the student should mention the thyrotropin releasing hormone, or TRS, and the antidiuretic hormone ADH to get full marks. So as you can see here, I have the 2 hormones mentioned under the hypothalamus endocrine structure, so I would get 100%. In this section of the rubric, I am looking for the description and definition of the hormones. So here, just like the description of the endocrine structure, I'm just looking for a correct and accurate definition of what the hormone's function is. So just like I have here, you can see that I have the definition of both the hormones for this structure. In this part of the rubric, I will be grading spelling and grammar. The reason I included this in the rubric is because this project does involve a lot of communication through text between the learner and the project itself. So I do believe it is important for there to be proper spelling and grammar so the individual who's observing the project can understand what the creator is trying to say. As an example, you will see in this section that I use basically perfect grammar and spelling. So if I were to keep this up throughout the rest of the project, I should receive full marks for this section of the rubric. For the final part of the rubric, I will be grading the creativity and effort. So for this, I will be looking at the complexity of the coding blocks that were used to design scripts to personalize the project. So like in mine here, you notice I have the cute little narrator moving around the screen, changing sizes, and I've included an aspect of interactiveness when describing the different hormones as well, so this would give me 100% in this section.